was made to serve his sentence. Part of that was due to the emotional damage and distress caused by him being under supervision and under arrest. And finally, I believe the chunk of $4,500 was added on for legal fees and representational rights for me to take this case.
Thank you for that. Ms. Carter, closing statements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Valdera essentially made a nuisance of himself the entire evening in question. He put lives in danger, including his own, with reckless evasion, hit and run, I believe on multiple occasions. And the whole point of his lawsuit is that he was denied the right to counsel. He was never denied that right, was never put forth into evidence. He himself never requested a phone call. He failed to communicate. He wasn't denied his rights. He didn't ask for them.
He's kind of looking
Officers
around.
are not expected, because of a Yellow Page ad that was sent out, to know who Lenny is. Therefore, I believe this lawsuit should be dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. All right, are there any other motions on the table? Okay, with that being said, we're going to recess for approximately 10 minutes, and then hopefully we'll have a verdict at that time.
Give me 1 second,
What am I going to do here? Let's just type. Okay, so here's the problem. Number one, ignorance on... Yes, come in.
Your Honor, I understandably would not like to discuss this case with you at this time. However, I will say that the implications for this case have a clear precedent that can be set for the city regarding criminals pleading.
Mr. Springer, if you'd like to go grab Ms. Carter, if you'd like to make a statement, please. Let's make sure that they're aware.
Definitely. Ms. Carter,
Can't come in after the fact.
join us, please.
Yes.
I will simply repeat myself and reiterate what I just said, if that is okay with you, Your Honor.
It's not
is there a
okay,
reason
but I
we
want
need
you to
hear the
repeat
same
it.
thing?
I just mentioned to the Honorable Judge McGillicuddy that although I do not want to discuss the case during this recess, this case and this verdict will have long-term implications and set a clear precedent for criminals who wish to express a not guilty plea for their initial charges.
And what I would like to say, Ms. Carter, I wanted you to make sure that you hear this so that there's no question about what was said in this chamber. Mr. Springer, after a court case has been heard, I would appreciate that the court case has been heard. And if you don't think that everything that I come out with as far as verdict-wise, not very much understanding that it sets a precedent, you'd be sadly mistaken. So in the future, it does not help your case to come back and tell me anything after the case has been presented in any shape or form, especially with a clarifying statement that this doesn't pertain to the case, and then therefore you start talking about precedents. Am I clear? So Ms. Carter, you can hear the same thing.
I worry that you mistook what I said. I was not making a statement on the case. I was making a commentary regarding the case as a whole. I was not trying to add any statements.
Yes, and I will make a clarifying comment on you as well. The case has been presented. You lay it out. You lay your cards out on the table. You don't come in afterwards and start talking about precedents, okay? Because everything that I do, I understand is a very big weight and precedents that will be met, okay?
I understand, Your Honor.
I appreciate y'all's service, but this is not something that I want to see in the future. Understood?
Understood, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're dismissed. Come in.
Oh, excuse me. Come through. All right, I have to go from the room still.
you want us both in the room?
Yes.
I would like to deliberate. This is a tough one because
Request that voice volume gets mentioned, and everybody is talking loudly and clear. That's it.
understood, Chief. Thank you. Oh, okay, here. So here's the problem. The problem is that Sixth Amendment protects your ability to be protected. Here's the situation. Wolf didn't understand that that was the process at hand. He's been in a system where this wasn't in place, but ignorance isn't an excuse. If a person is seeking legal counsel of any kind, also it should have tipped his hat that he was pleading not guilty to the charges at hand. So with not guilty, it should have been a red flag on that we're heading for a court case. But there's no court case if the defendant automatically has already served the time. So it's kind of a toss-up. Number one, I believe that every bit of his sentence would have been served. So fine, sentence, absolutely would have gone through. But in a Sixth Amendment violation, it's my understanding that all charges would be dropped and erased. So that's a booger. So, man. And I see some chat over to my left. It's scrolling a little bit, and try not to look at it. So the thing about it is we definitely have a violation of your Sixth Amendment, which is a constitutional right. I believe that the fine, man, the precedence is this actually, is if you don't dismiss the court case, or no, if you don't find in favor of the plaintiff, then you do set up a scenario where if someone does not get the chance to legal representation, that they still could be fined. They still could be sent to jail. Here's what I think the amount that he was fined, the amount fined, lawyer fees, the hourly basis, I don't agree with, because that could be anything that was all over the board. And he mentioned his fishing. Well, that doesn't compute with me. Now, his time served would be, I think it's $15 per month. And you can't let this slide, mainly because of the citizens and what this is, because it was fairly new. Lenny, he should have said lawyer, but in any case, it's really on it's not on the burden of the person to request it, because you never know, this could be distress. So it's why you read the Miranda rights. You don't ask somebody to understand them without reading them. You tell them. So it is my belief that Officer Wolf, not knowing the situation, has changed. Because honestly, you could say that Officer Wolf shouldn't know, because it's a fairly new situation that we even have bail as an option and lawyers in the city. So I can understand why he didn't know to do that. But this should probably set the precedence too, that from this point forward, we can't do that again. So the problem too is that in a real Sixth Amendment issue, those charges would be dropped and erased from his record. And honestly, there's two major court cases that deal with Sixth Amendment that I did a little research before this happened. And Gideon Wainwright guarantees and Brewer versus Williams again gives the right to an attorney at the point of judicial proceedings. So there's a couple things. And in the case of Gideon versus Wainwright, the charges were actually expunged and dropped. Okay. I think I know what I got to do. This is a tough one. Captain, if you could gather up the prosecution.
Yes, sir.
I'm just gonna type this in. I don't know if it hadn't been 10 minutes, but you know what? I know what I gotta do, but this sucks. I didn't realize that this
After you
would put you in this kind of spot. Jokes. I didn't give the captain a chance to introduce me, but you know what? Counselors, do we have everybody present?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want to let everybody know in the courtroom too. Make sure if there's any emotional response to the reading of this verdict, you need to excuse yourself now. There will be no exceptions. So if you have to make a phone call, anything, now's the time for you to leave. Who are the two guys that just walked in? All right. Now, I put a lot of thought into this, honestly. I've done a pretty extensive amount of research based around this case on the evidence that has been presented thus far. And I will tell you, both parties did a wonderful job presenting their case. I do want to thank Chief and the Captain for being present today, and everybody in the courtroom. Again, if upon reading of this verdict that you become emotional, now's the time to leave. All right, before I read this verdict, I need a few questions answered for me, please. Can somebody clarify Ms. Carter, can you clarify, or Mr. Springer, the total fine that was issued on Mr. Valdera?
$750, Your Honor.
For the record, how many months was Mr. Valdera in jail?
65 months, Your Honor. Apologies, I believe it was 7 months.
He was sentenced to 70. He served 65.
Actually, come to think of it, there might be an inconsistency in the report. It mentions that he was sentenced to 65 in the evidence.
I believe the police report states 70 months, served 65.
Yes, but on the penultimate line of that report, it mentions that he was sentenced to 65 months instead.
Okay, that's enough. All right, let me get a couple things across right now. And I understand, Mr. Springer, that you made the case that this is not about the actions of Mr. Valdera, it's about the violation of his Sixth Amendment. But I do want to state a few things. Mr. Valdera, your actions are absolutely unexcusable the night of this issue. Am I clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
I do not ever want to see you before me again with these type of actions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, one thing I do want to say is that Officer Wolf, I do understand that absolutely there was not understanding of who Lenny was, who Lenny is, and that he was a certified lawyer. But at no time can we ever violate someone's constitutional right for representation. I do want to reference 2 court cases for the record that pertain to this situation. One is Gideon versus Wainwright. The Supreme Court, 1963, guarantees all defendants facing criminal prosecution the right to an attorney. 1977, we've got Brewer and Williams that not only builds off 1963's Supreme Court case with Gideon and Wainwright, but also clarifies that at the point of judicial proceedings, you have to be given the right to an attorney. I do believe it was outside of the boundaries for Mr. Valdera. I do believe that his Sixth Amendment right was violated, even though some of these procedures were not in line at that time. I can't sit on this bench right now and stand for the violation of someone's constitutional right to representation, no matter how it's presented. When we pertains to Miranda rights or any other thing, those are presented to our suspects. They are not to just ask for them, much like a phone call. These are things that should be presented as an option in case of distress. So I do find in this case, I find in favor of the prosecution or the plaintiff, Freddie Valdera. But there is some clarification here. I'm not finding you for the $7,000 that you were asking for. I am calculating the time that you have served and the payout of that to be about $975 in payment. Also would include your defense fees in this as well, $4,500. So I find, as far as the monetary value, I find that you are equitable to get the $6,225 in your favor. Also, based on the court cases that I've referenced, anytime there is a Sixth Amendment violation, the record will be expunged of everything that Mr. Valdera, even though he did it. These will be wiped from your record, Mr. Valdera, as much as that it's a bad taste in my mouth. And with that being said, case closed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, this court session is.
That was a little
dismissed.
awkward.
Head out, let's go.
All right, so 625.
Thank you. You did a very good job, Mr. Springer.
Now, all right, let's see some chat here. I blocked it. I got a little bit. Put a bunch of Arby's bags. Oh, dude, that was tough though, because honestly, it's.
Hold on, let me ask the chief real quick.
Definitely need to have a closing statement a little bit better than that. So, find.
Yeah, good job, man.
Plaintiff.
I think we got everything we wanted. I mean, I don't, to be
6225.
consummate
this record.
That's your line. We'll take those when they check whether or not they're dropped.
You guys feel free to have this conversation outside the courthouse.
Your Honor, we were actually waiting for you and for the officers in question for my client's payout.
Absolutely. Right this way.
We were wondering. Perfect.
Did you want me to follow, Your Honor?
Yes. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pay him. All right, Mr. Valdera. Yep. Hang tight. Come on out here. I don't currently have enough money in my bank. And I almost passed out. I need to get some food in me before I pass out. If you would, meet me up at the bank.
Yes, sir. Or yes, Your Honor. The one right up the street by
Correct.
apartment.
Your Honor, if it's okay with you, I'll be waiting for
You got it.
Mrs. Springer, what was the total I owe you? 4,500. All right.
The police are leaving like, screw this.
You got some issues, girl. Got some issues, girl.
Who are these guys?
Man, I don't even know what the fuck just happened.
Gentlemen?
Hey, what up, girl?
Your Honor.
And I'm gonna walk to the bank. I'm not running.
Man, I'm really trying to go talk to that EMS dude.
So, okay, here. Let's see here. Thanks, bro. It was a tough one because honestly, it's so tough when you sit there and you think, this guy's a scumbag criminal. But you can't, I mean, it's pretty obvious that we missed some steps there that could have been communicated a little differently. So there's no way, if we were to say, if we had found and dismissed the case, I think we would not be, the Department of DOJ and the police department would not be held in much respect. Because even though we found kind of against the police department, that's something we need to fix. And unfortunately it happened about the time when Wolf was, like, we finally had lawyers. So it's not a slight against Wolf because he was really doing what we've been doing the whole time. But it kind of sucks. All right, here to Mr. Valdera. Ouch. That's out of my own bank
All
account.
right. Thank you,
Hello.
Your Honor.
Well, I'd say you're welcome, Mr. Valdera, but shit, man, you were asking for that one.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, I am just glad that justice prevailed in this situation. I am absolutely more than happy to plead guilty if I have done a crime. However, in this case, you know, I felt like the circumstances warranted, your oversight.
Well, I understand, Mr. Valdera, and I do believe that your constitutional right was violated. But to be honest with you, I believe it was based around a mistake the officer made. It wasn't something that was intentional. So there's not a great taste in my mouth, but I will tell you that your rights were violated. So you were you were due process, sir. So I'm glad that you got justice today.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. That's enough grit in McGillicuddy's mouth. At least he got to tell him his 2 cents. I'll walk over here and talk to Mr. Springer. I don't believe Mr. Springer is a lawyer, and this is why. I've heard him talk in 2 separate cases with no indication that he uses case law or examples, or he came in the chambers after closing statements, and there's no way you would do that. So there's a few things that maybe he has a little bit of legal background, or maybe he may be watching right now, but and plus, why would you be a lawyer in real life and then RP it out all night? Just, I don't know. But you did a great job. Did a great job, Miss Carter. Did a great job. She really, honestly, it was one of those cases that it could almost be like the smoke and mirrors is that he really did all those things. But the focus is the fact that his Sixth Amendment was violated, and that is not just a small thing. It's absolute constitutional law. Let's see what Springer has to say. And Springer gets a win. Mr. Springer,
Hello, Your Honor.
just for
give
your
me 1
information, your client has been paid out.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm just waiting on my payout. If you're still around, I would like to discuss the specifics of the case with you.
Absolutely, I'll be inside.
Hello, Freddie.
He got him a
All
payday
right, there
today.
you are, sir. Thank you very
So.
much for your representation. You did a fantastic job.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Ben. I really did not want to go that route based on the criminal activity, but there was nothing that said that he wasn't given the opportunity, or that he was given the opportunity. If anything, I think Wolfson, in his statement and the evidence submitted in the officer report, pretty much pointed to the fact that he did tell him that he wouldn't be talking to anybody, and he rushed right through. The key should have been when he... How are you, man? Great job today, Springer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I apologize again for my outburst during the recess. It was initially meant to be a precursor to this conversation.
Understood. I just want to make sure that in the future, take care of me on it, because I'm trying to approach each one of these cases as an impartial, participant here. So I don't want any kind of image that, we have the closing arguments and then someone comes into my chambers and then things are swayed. So take care of me on that.
I understand, Your Honor. If I may offer a suggestion for the legal system in my limited time here.
Absolutely.
Well, it just seems in our digital age now, with all the technology we have, it seems almost pitiful how behind the times we are collectively as a country almost. So if I would recommend adding some kind of court system that allows for someone to plead not guilty, and an email be sent out notifying all public defenders in the city that someone has requested their services at MRPD or wherever, and for them to either appear at the courthouse or at the jail cells.
Mr. Spring, that is a absolute wonderful suggestion. So if you could write that up, send me an email based on all that. I'd love to kind of see if we can advocate for something like that.
Certainly. Would you like that in a public record or in a private email?
You can send it to me in a public record, no problem.
Certainly. I will do. I might add that onto the end of the case docket for the sake of precedent.
I will tell you too, a little side note, we're going to be creating Instead of doing the case files in Discordian, we're going to be creating a folder system to where we can have a better view of evidence that's presented. So hang tight.
Excellent, excellent. I look forward to that. All right, that was all. I just wanted to bring that up for you to sit on and digest and use it as you may.
Absolutely, it's a great idea.
All right, well, take care, and I'll be sure to reach out to you about that email.
You as well. Have a good night.
You too, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, let's make sure the chambers are free. All right, good to go. We'll write this up in just a little bit. Not now, though. Let's see, it's 9:30, so we'll go stand out on the steps for just a second. No, I don't want to lock it because this place is sweet. I need to come in and see it. Alright, let's see here. What was that? The prosecution's buying drinks down at VU. Let's see. Steal. Alright, let's see here. I think Brody needs to wake up. That's prosecution one lap dance. And his argument too, even though we only saved about $800, his validation of payout for 7. The thing about it, I didn't want Springer if Springer hadn't told me 4,500, I was going to reduce that down to like 2 and expunge his record. But in this situation, he said it, 4,500 for preparing the case, and you want to kind of keep that rolling because there's not a whole lot for Springer to do if he's not representing folks with his lawyer. Then go to VU and hang out, or so. There's got to be some monetary gain there, so I didn't mind paying it. May have to get the judge up at the vineyard harvesting some grapes to start paying out on these lawsuits. So don't watch out. So I do need to probably send an email to the chief to expunge the record and also talk about, which he's probably going to talk about in the SOP and everybody, that we do have a system in place now. We have to make sure that we give them the right to an attorney, and then also documenting the fact whether they choose to or not in those reports. Yeah, it should come from the state. We haven't quite talked through the bank account system yet, so we'll figure it out. McGillicuddy really doesn't have any money to spend on other than that Bentley that he wants.